For centuries, the sun never set on the British Empire. From the misty Isles of England to the farthest corners of the globe, one nation ruled the waves and the world. It all began in the late 1500s. Imagine a small island nation, hungry for trade, power, and discovery. Britain's explorers, driven by a thirst for the unknown, set sail into uncharted waters. They weren't alone, of course. Powerful nations like Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands were already carving up the globe, and Britain had to fight for every inch of its newfound influence. Figures like Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh, under the ambitious gaze of Queen Elizabeth I, led the charge. What started as small, often struggling colonies in the Caribbean and North America soon became crucial stepping stones. These early settlements were the seeds from which a global empire would sprout, eventually stretching its reach to the rich lands of India and the vast continent of Africa. But it wasn't trade alone that built an empire. It was power. Raw, undeniable, naval power. The Royal Navy became the backbone of Britain's global ambition, known, matched, unyielding, and for a time, seemingly unstoppable. This fleet wasn't just for protecting trade routes, it was a tool of conquest and control. Its cannons echoed across every major ocean, enforcing British will from the Americas to the Far East. The ultimate test of this naval supremacy came in 1805 at the Battle of Trafalgar. Here, Admiral Horatio Nelson, in a masterful display of strategy and courage, decisively crushed the combined fleets of France and Spain. This single victory didn't just end Napoleon's hopes of invading Britain. It cemented Britain's command of the seas for more than a century to come. With its rivals swept from the board, the path was clear for the empire's territories, marked in red on maps, to expand at an astonishing rate. By the 19th century, the British Empire had reached its zenith, a staggering quarter of the Earth's land surface and nearly a quarter of its populations, some 400 million souls, lived under the Union Jack. The famous saying, "The sun never sets on the British Empire," was literal truth. The empire's economy was a vast, interconnected machine. Tea from India, diamonds and gold from South Africa, wool from Australia, and sugar from the Caribbean all flowed back to Britain, fueling its industrial revolution and filling its coffers. This global network didn't just move goods, it moved ideas, people, and technology. The empire spread the English language, its legal systems, and its innovations like railways, telegraphs, and steamships across the globe, fundamentally reshaping societies. But this story of progress has a dark side. The empire's railways and schools were often built alongside its chains and guns. The wealth that enriched Britain was extracted through exploitation and force, and the spread of its culture often meant the suppression of others. It was a complex legacy of development and destruction, connection and control. However, no empire lasts forever. The immense strain of 2 world wars would prove to be the beginning of the end. The empire that once ruled the oceans found itself drowning in debt and facing a rising tide of rebellion. The very ideals of freedom and self-determination that Britain claimed to champion were now being used against it by its own subjects. The winds of change were blowing, and they could not be stopped. The most significant blow came in 1947, when the jewel in the crown, India, achieved its independence after a long and arduous struggle. This monumental event sent a powerful message across the empire. Freedom was possible. One by one, other colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean followed suit, each demanding and winning their own sovereignty. The vast red map began to shrink, until only the memory of a global empire remained. Yet, even after the flags came down, the empire's legacy lives on. It's woven into the very fabric of our modern world. You can hear it in the English language spoken on every continent. You can see it in the legal and political systems of dozens of nations, and in the multicultural streets of London itself. The Commonwealth of Nations, a voluntary association of former British colonies, is a direct descendant of this imperial past. For better or for worse, the world we know today, its trade routes, its cultural connections, and many of its conflicts was built upon those waves. The British Empire may have fallen, but its echoes still travel the seas. If you love exploring the hidden tides of history, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join us for our next voyage into the past. Thanks for watching.